So once it is alive, it will display on your screen that it is alive. Then Garima will start the introduction.
Before going into live, can I make a passing remark? So
Yeah,
should
please.
I share a screen and share a slide deck, or I can speak to the audience?
No, you can definitely share the screen after we are off air.
Okay.
Yeah.
And second comment is, I mean, Professor Kamlesh and Sharmila's background, it's beautiful. Just
Thank you. That's my library.
A lot of books and stuff like that. Very impressive. Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, Garima, you can start, I think.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to people watching from various parts of this world. And a very warm welcome to everyone. So we are here live on this series, Making the Virtual World Alive. And the topic for today's discussion is Future of Education in Disrupted Employments in the World. So I am Garima Arora Kannan. I'm the founder of Life Leadership Movement and Design Your Dream Life Coach, where I inspire people to take charge and ownership of their life and build their dream life. And I'm really honored to be part of this series. Thank you, Dr. Hari Krishna Maram and Bringle Academy for starting this amazing series, and which is helping people across the world. And today we have with us co-founder of Bringle Academy, Ms. Sharmila, also with us, and our chief guest, Mr. Professor Kamlesh Mishra, and we are also joined by Mr. Suman Subyan. So for people who are joining us live, I would like to know from where you are joining, which part of the world, which city of the country, and we are live on Facebook, so you can type in the comment section, which city are you joining from? So that way we will know which part of the world you are from. I'm here from Mumbai, and we have people on the board from various parts of the world. I'll just introduce everyone in a while. So we have our chief guest, Mr. Kamlesh Mishra, and a very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining. He's an economist.
Thank you. Thanks.
He's an economist and vice chancellor at Rishi Hood University. He has rich experience of around 3 decades with various prestigious educational institutes where he created and transformed the institutions from scratch. His journey goes from being a village boy born in a small village in UP in family of farmers to moving to US and then returning back to India to fulfill his burning desire of changing Indian higher education system. From leaving his comfortable job in government to moving to private sector to transform the education system. His journey has been transformational and very, very inspiring. He's very well-known strategist and a thought leader in his field. So thank you so much for joining us, sir, today, and request you to share a little more about your amazing journey and opening remarks on this topic.
Garima, thank you so much, and glad that I had a discussion with Dr. Hari, and we thought that we should share some thoughts on this important topic that you have been saying. Let me go straight to the topic. I think you have introduced me in such a way that I really don't have much to add to that, except that, I enjoy teaching. That's my passion. Even though I hold the designation of a vice chancellor, most people don't recognize me that way in my workplace. In fact, it will be very difficult if you come to the university. You may not be able to identify who is the vice chancellor and who are the other people, unless somebody tells you. So I'm basically a team player. I build teams, and I convert those teams into strategic teams, and I ensure that the objectives with which the teams have been built can be fulfilled without me. So I already create my exit plan before I prepare the team. So do you want me to go straight to the topic and discuss, or you want to?
No, you can move ahead. You can talk about the topic directly.
Okay. So I think, one of the big challenges that we have faced, and in fact the world is facing, is this public health issue that has come up. Why is it such a big thing? Because first, it was unexpected. Second, nobody knew that what is the extent of this public health problem that will exist. It has, to an extent, engulfed the whole world.
Sure.
So, a typical answer today that if you ask somebody how you are doing, they'll say the same way that you are doing, because that's what everyone is happening. And obviously, when it comes to us, people who are in the field of education, we look at it very closely, of course, in relation to the industry, because there is a connect between these two areas of industry and education. So all of a sudden, we woke up in the morning and we found that we can't go out anymore.
True.
Everything is closed. And the first thought as a teacher, it comes in a teacher in higher education is, so how do I connect with my students? What do I do? And that's where this whole concept of, video conferencing started. So I still say that to a large extent, we are still on a video conferencing mode rather than e-learning mode, because I think digital learning and e-learning is a little more advanced than, just having Zoom discussions with students or having a lecture that is broadcasted on Zoom. And we'll talk about it. So the first major challenge that we have right now, if we reflect back on the last 3.5, 4 months, how things are going to change in higher education. And I don't want to spend too much time on how we started coping up with this problem and teaching online and doing those kind of things. I think those things are already known to us, that what we have done. But I think let's look more into the future, that how is all this going to have an impact on higher education as a whole. And let's say in December, January, we come up with the solution to this problem. Then how does it change the whole higher education system? People may be able to now go back to the offices and all these things, but does it change the system? And my thinking is that this public health problem is going to transform higher education completely. I think everything that we do will change.
Correct.
And the forces of change are going to be thrust on us, rather than, for us to wait. And we'll have no choice but to shift into new modes of how we do things. But I want to talk about this from the point of view of employment and employability and jobs also, because that's also important. So let's first look at how is the industry scenario going to change, because that's going to have a major impact on how education is going to also transform. I feel a lot of businesses and industries that existed may not exist, and a lot that did not exist or existed in a small way may become very, very large. So the way that I look at it is that it is the age of digital transformation. Whether we like it or we don't like it, digital transformation will be the key to everything that is going to happen in India now or the world anywhere.
True.
So there are going to be shifting trends in career choice in the new world that we will be looking at. So what are those areas? So things like cloud computing, digital payments, diagnostics, pharma, medical tourism, hospitals, medical equipment, cybersecurity, e-commerce, online education, insurance, robotics, logistics, business analytics, network automation, entrepreneurship. These are all massive growth areas. And I think whether it is educational institutions or it is students, we need to recognize this. This is like a juggernaut, it's coming. And it's going to hit us real bad.
True.
Right? And these areas are going to grow at such a rapid rate that we may not have sufficient people to fill these positions. And that will be our biggest challenge in the short term. Right? And we will see a massive shortage of students who are coming out of computer science programs, computer engineering programs, networking. All these are going to be in massive shortage areas. So what I expect is that there is going to be a steep rise in salaries in these areas. Because with limited number of availability of people in this area, everybody has to grab them now to meet those challenges. And so I expect that there will be rising salaries, but the rising salaries also encourage more students to get into these areas. Now, look at this from the point of view of the universities, how the universities need to transform this challenge. So, programs in healthcare is going to be massive. Insurance, logistics. Just think of the delivery people, how they are managing today, right? And that sector is going to grow very, very fast, right? So today we have Amazon, Flipkart, all these, but you're going to have hundreds of more, right? Almost everything is going online.
Sure.
It's not just that it's going online, but it is also changing the consumer perceptions of how we do this. In this 4.5 months, we as consumers, just think about it, have developed so much faith on online shopping. A lot of people who never did online shopping have started doing online shopping, right? And it will be very difficult for them not to do it. At the best, reduce it, right? So the consumer today in India, all of a sudden, he seems to have given away the touch and feel of the product from his mind. And he's getting convinced that, oh, I got this from Amazon, I don't like it, I just type on my computer that I want to return it, and somebody comes and picks it up and goes away. And my money comes back into my account in a digital form. What is my problem? I can get the product, have the feel and touch of it. I like it, I keep it. I don't like it, I give it back. So the mind of the consumer has changed. Second thing that we also all of a sudden realize that as families, we don't need much to live.
Very true.
Right? We don't have to spend 20,000 every month to go out for dinner, which we used to. You know, as an economist, I can tell you that more than 50 to 60% of our purchases are impulsive purchases. Those are purchases that we don't require. Those are purchases that we get influenced by because it is too cheap. It's on sale.
On discount.
It's on discount, right? So we, in these 4 months, we have got out of that impulsiveness that we used to have. Today we buy online, we buy what we need, right? We may be stacking up things. So the reason I'm saying this is that even for industry to revive, this has to change. The consumer has to go back into the impulsive mode of buying. But it's not going to be immediate. It will take some time. When everything settles down and the consumer begins to go into the market, the malls begin to open, and then slowly it will happen. So it will be bad, but it will take time. In that period, a lot is changing. So when you relate these things to higher education, so these are the growth areas. These are the kind of students that will be required, right? I said insurance will be a big one. And today you see every kind of health insurance is available to you. New ones. That's when more hiring is going to happen, right? So obviously now you go back into higher education segment and you begin to see that what's going to change. First, a lot of our curriculum has to shift. Right? Because we were working on a curriculum design which was based on an old industrial model that we had, and now we are all of a sudden going to see a shift in this whole system, where there is a realignment between where jobs are growing and where jobs are going to be stable and where jobs are going to be less. Right? So universities also will have to bring those things into the curriculum. So we expect to see more number of degree programs in new areas that probably were not there before. Something that, for example, maybe we'll see a full-fledged program in logistics management, rather than to have logistics courses as part of an MBA program, because now we need specialized people also. So we expect that we will see some of these. What else we will see? Blended learning will be the way to go. No matter what happens, we cannot go back to only face-to-face. Because we have learned the hard way that unless we have that infrastructure for this kind of a time, we are going to be in a big mess, right? So I expect all higher education institutions to become digitally very, very savvy and start moving into a blended delivery format. Now, I would call it more of a flexible blended learning model, in the sense that like what I would want to do in my university is to have a flexible blended learning model, because one thing you will appreciate in higher education, teachers don't like to be told what they should do. They hate it when you tell them, even if you're a vice chancellor. They may do it, but they don't like when you tell teachers, you do this, right? So I want to keep a flexible model where we tell the faculty member that minimum 15% of your course should be delivered online. The rest of the 85%, you do it the way you want to do it. That's a starting point. See, you have to take people with you, right? And 15 to 20% is something they will all accept, right? Now, why should educational institutions go into this kind of format? Let's accept it. Our teachers are not ready yet. They still need to do a lot of learning, a lot of work on online learning models. The whole curriculum has to be structured for online education. And as I said before, me coming onto a Zoom platform And lecturing 1 hour to students is not e-learning. The curriculum needs to be structured in such a way that there is a lot of interaction. There's a lot of work that students need to do. There are a lot of videos, there are a lot, a format has to be there, which is not just something that I come and talk and they fall asleep. I feel that we will have to eventually move if we go into a blended format, about 15-20%, we can very easily start with a sort of a tutorial system on that, which is more engaging with students. Plus sharing of lot of documents, sharing of lot of material, which can be discussed in a classroom format also, where students are ready, they have read it, they are prepared, and they come that way. And as they feel more and more comfortable, they can increase the proportion of the blending. So from 15, somebody may say, I feel very good about this, my experience is amazing, and I want to increase it to 20% next semester. Or I want to increase it to 30%. So they can keep moving based on their speed at which they are learning, the technology, the pace of technological growth, and also how students are actually adapting to it. And whether we are able to bring the human touch into that to some extent. But since it's a blended format, the human touch will come into the face-to-face delivery, so it's fine. So I feel that that's the coming of the digital age in higher education. There is nothing that can stop it now. And it will be part of every educational institution. So new universities like us have an advantage here, that our technology support systems are being designed for that kind of a delivery, because we are new. Whereas those that are already there, they have already invested in a technology which may not support everything, so they need to make more investments. So we have an edge in that way. That, and also second, that since we are starting now, every faculty member starts with that. So there is no culture already. So in a new place, the culture is of blended learning. That is what you are starting with. But remember that in any kind of an organization, bringing change is difficult, right? It's very similar to that. There was a time when we all used to get water supply free from the government. And we became very, very upset when the government said, now you have to pay for it. It's very, very similar concept, that when we are used to doing certain things in a certain way, and somebody says, no, you do it different way, then the time that it takes for that adjustment is much longer because of oppositions that happen. May not be directly, but indirectly there. So I think we should be, expecting this kind of a shift in delivery pattern. But other aspect that I see in higher education is online degrees will become a reality, and they will increase in a big way. And I feel that although I've always felt that the market for online degree programs is different, then it probably is not going to be encouraging students who are in the age group of 18 to 22 to go for online degrees. They would rather want to go to face-to-face, because let's look at it in a serious way. I want to be a student in a university, right? I want to do my share of create trouble also on the campus, have my fights, go to the canteen, go to the classroom, argue with friends. That's also part of my education. That is part of my growing up, right? And that's what we call the human touch in higher education. So I don't go to a university just because I want to get a degree. I go to a university because I get an environment where I can grow as an individual, right? And I can experience different aspects of life and growing up in that age.
Sure.
So that's a different market. But online degree is a different market. I think it's more for adult learners who are more disciplined, who have self-control, who are not distracted. Young guys are they are multitaskers, but they are always distracted. This generation is very, very different. It's a generation that has actually grown with internet, YouTube, all these things. For the first time, we have a generation that is completely aware of the digital space, was born in that, right? So they are multitasking brain they have. They can talk to their girlfriend and they can chat with their mom at the same time. That's the way their mind and their brain works, and they'll be able to manage everything. So I think the online degree becomes more relevant to that market. But what I see is that adult learning market is going to grow by leaps and bounds. People who were previously not thinking of doing online degrees are going to move into doing online degrees. Part-time programs in universities it's a death to them now. If you think of 10 years back, there used to be part-time programs, evening programs that a lot of universities used to have. I think it's over. I think the coffin is already ready. Nobody is going to go into evening programs and part-time programs. Everybody is going to go into it. So I see almost doubling, tripling of this market. So those people who are going to be in online degree programs, they are going to be having massive increase in their market share and in their revenue growth also. So I think that probably these are some of the changes that will come and which will transform the whole educational system itself. The way that educational institutions and universities have worked. Internationally, we are going to have some problem, at least in the short term. I don't think that a lot of students are going to start crossing borders immediately. There is a lot of fear that is there. How many students are going to the US, how many are going to UK. The numbers have declined drastically. The concept of gap year is being introduced in India now because of this. A lot of students are saying, let's drop a year. I've had so many discussions with students who said, should I take a drop? I said, take it. If you feel like good, if you feel good about it. 1 year in the life of an 18-year-old is not going to make any difference if he doesn't study. So if they have a fear, right, relax, enjoy yourself, develop your own skills, do things that you want to do, right? Because it's not going to change anything. And please remember, relatively, everybody is in the same place. Because this is happening worldwide. So I think these are some of the shifts that I see that will be coming into this sector as we move forward.
Okay. Thank you so much. Very insightful, and I'm sure our audience also found it very insightful. So everyone watching on Facebook Live, I want you to type in the comment section, insightful session. Okay, so now we move ahead with another very eminent speaker, Mr. Suman Subian, who's joining us from Singapore live right now. Okay, so he is an education specialist with vast experience of 14 years across various organizations. He's currently regional manager at James Cook University at the Singapore campus. He's also been part of organizations like Raffles Academy and JCU. He has been certified by Google for Digital Marketing Leadership Program. He's a certified job and career development coach. And we look forward to your session, Mr. Subian. A very warm welcome to you. And I request your opening remarks for the topic of the day.
Yeah, thank you, Garima. I mean, it's indeed enlightening. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. Yes, I mean, professors comment about increasing in different sectors, I mean, which I really support, being in a university, being in an education system. But I want to jump in directly to the topic. I mean, today, as we get into future of education in disrupted employment, yes, a lot of employments were being displaced, and by particularly this pandemic. So we are one among everyone of the university who blended with the society to nurture the needs of the society. And now we are looking multiple ways to support aspiring students to, I mean, bring them up in their skills level and as well as in their learning curve. And yeah, we have taken a lot of steps towards that. So um, I'm having a slide deck where about 6-7 slide deck that I have. So it'll be useful to, in a backdrop, whatever that I'm sharing, probably that could make sense in motivating whoever there in this pandemic who are affected, particularly to enhance them in a profound manner would be useful. So on this manner, just a background of me, I'm an alumnus of James Cook University and working with Singapore campus of James Cook University. My main responsibility is more towards, I'm responsible for students studying in Singapore campus of James Cook University. And yeah, that looks after southern part of India, as well as, I mean, this large extent in the Middle East and stuff like that, yeah. So now in the world, I mean, we are into globalization, data sciences, and digital disruption, or artificial intelligence mainly, that is in the era that we are in. So I wish to use, I mean, top 7 format so that audience could progress when I will be completing, how fast I will be doing and stuff like that, which will be useful. So first thing is education is a key. Being an educationist, I mean, that is important. So education is critical now and in future. It does not matter what level, rather it should be skill-based. I mean, so give an example. So last week, my son, I have a son about 7 years old. He came to me and said, he scored 100% of marks in the maths and he wanted to be a maths teacher. Then I took a step back and said, yes. So that's sort of a leverage that's happening particularly in online mode on engaging and simulating kids. That is profound nature they are delivering, in particularly in Singapore and elsewhere, everywhere as well. So yeah, when I looked at a lot of courses that is being progress towards online conversion, but there is always a gap where when it comes to a one-day course or about 1 month course or about a year course, they give a certificate and that's it, they are achieved. So this is mostly recognized on knowledge-based learning. It doesn't involve anything enabling skills. And that is crucial. There is a huge gap, even though there is in simulation, stuff like that that happens innovatively. But it is important, everyone to invest in education at this moment within the university framework. At the same time, the time becomes no barrier with the pandemic, what we have learned. And that is something which is to be leveraged. So an example is, I used to invest about 2 hours, morning an hour and evening an hour to travel to university and sit in office space and work. Now that 2 hours is within me. So time is no much as a barrier at this stage. So that's the first thing that I would strongly advise to anyone, so to an adult or to above 17 years or even 25 years, 30 years, to invest in education. That is important. And this particular decade, in a personal opinion. Second, when we are moving into it, it's more on focusing on developing soft skills. I mean, yes, education is important. On top of that, what are the skills that we are learning in experiential manner? That is a key to a totality. And the key is how individual repackage the skill along with a formal education and to be able to articulate that in front of employers are important. Combining formal and informal education to value add to the workforce, that is something which every other industry at this point of time, they are looking into it, how they are value adding, how the staff is value adding. And as a university, certainly when there is an pedagogy where seamless transition comes with skill development as well as knowledge development together, and that would certainly will be very successful. And some of the components as a James Cook University, we used to develop and deliver for last 3-4 months and after the pandemic. And a lot of students expressed their happiness, and that's sort of leveraging us in occupying that particular space in digital world. Certainly, yes. And third is more towards aiming careers, not a job. I mean, certainly the reason why I was saying this in the sense, I mean, there is about when I used to grow in my own place. At the time, it was more towards everybody very loyal and everybody. For example, my father has one job for his career, being a government employee in a teaching field, and that's his whole career. But nowadays, people are changing a lot of jobs, and there is a huge lot of opportunities to multitask and grab a lot of space in various expertise. That is happening. I mean, growingly, that's happening in. So definitely, I mean, well, my son growing about another 10 years, it's about 17 years or 18 years. I'm not sure whether he will listen to me in taking a diploma or degree or a PhD, whatever course it is, but it's essential that he start building his career, and that is more important. So the typical example is on my period, about 20 years before, there was typewriting machines are there. There were telephone booths were there, but now it's everything more on heritage, more on epic, and people don't understand at this, which our new generation now and evolving in gigs economy. Definitely, pandemic has taught us time is not a barrier anymore for work. And that's about third one that I wish to highlight. And fourth one, it's more towards creating meaning to what they do. So I want to take about 2-3 examples over here. Apple democratized computer society for everyone, people to use. In a similar manner, Google democratized information. YouTube creates and uploads or shares multiple videos that democratize that particular space. So it is important that every individual that on what we do and why we do in creating value to surroundings that is useful, and if it is a meaningful, they will nurture them over a period of time and they will be successful. Yeah. And fifth one, I wish to enhance this creativity and innovation. That is important, very much important. How telephone becomes an internet now, typewriting machines become laser printers now, keep evolving. There are people who will have surroundings to discourage on multiple occasions, but it is important that we always keep in a mindset where the creativity and innovation supports them in every other situation to come out as an elite in their own space, what they wish to occupy. Sixth is, I mean, credentials and credibility. That is absolutely important. Many ways to do it. And now it's massive online courses are there, preferably study with good universities and which has good support system for the students in. But it is always important for students to see which of the universities supports their aim or their good fit or right fit to nurture their career. That is sort of important to evaluate, and accordingly credentials are important from the university or from any credibility as well it plays major part of it as well. So last but not least, so I wish to touch base on empathy, and it is important as well. So I want to bring a live example. About three months prior, that I've been in India, in Bangalore. I've stayed in one of a hotel called Taj Western, and we keep on going, and I have good colleagues there who used to do front desk management and stuff like that. One particular person I wanted to share in this particular forum, which could be very useful. And this person's name is Salome, and this person used to do front desk work, and she moved from that particular place to St. Regis, Mumbai. So where I stayed in St. Regis as well, but I was asking her a difference, and that opened up a different paradigm altogether from my thought perspective. So she said, I wish to go back to previous employment. Reason being, I was on my own, but here it is under the radar. So that sort of things, it's really, nobody says you need to say hello or pointing out a mistake and stuff like that. So it is important to develop over a period of a time, along with whatever that creating meaning or creativity or innovation or whatsoever. One should develop an empathy as usual to support their career growth and nurture whatever it is. So that is something about 7 things that I reckon audience could be very useful to apply in their own lives and get successful. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for this opportunity, Garima.
Thank you, Mr. Subhian. Really very insightful and very valid points. So I think we are not live now. So anyone from us, if we want to ask any question from both our speakers, we can do that.
Thank you. And it's a wonderful presentation by Professor Kamlesh Mishra as well as Mr. Suman, relevant to the current topic, what we mentioned here. And I got a few questions in the live, the Facebook thing. This is the first question is to Professor Kamlesh Mishra. So there is a question that what is the secret behind naming your university as Rishhood University? What is the idea behind the name?
Okay. The name Rishhood University is derived from the writings of Swami Vivekananda. So if you start reading his thoughts, there is a point where he comes out and says that the ultimate purpose of human life is to achieve Rishhood. Now, so we thought that it's a good name for a university whose purpose is to create good human beings. But the objective of Rishhood should be looked at from a more modern context than what generally people think about, that it's about becoming a saint, or no, it's not about that. It's more about working on the philosophy of personal life and growth, where our life should not be centered only on ourselves, but also on making the world a better place today. So that's the driving force behind Swami Vivekananda's thoughts.
Wonderful, sir. So one of the parent would like to ask, in this pandemic situation, is it advisable to send the kids to other countries, or it is better to continue here, or any other options where they can do 1 year here and they can move for a further semester once the entire thing will come to normalcy?
See, at the end of the day, it all depends on the level of comfort that they have. My two sons are in the US. Obviously, they are not studying, but they went to study and they never came back. So they are still there, and they are both in such places which are the centers for this whole problem, New York and Los Angeles. You know, these two states, New York and California, are the biggest problems, but they are there, right? I just had my neighbor's son who was in the US, who came here before this problem started and he got stuck. He just left last week for the US. So I think there are a lot of parents who are very apprehensive about sending. Forget about sending to the US or UK, they don't even want to send to the neighboring state, right? So people in Sonipat want to be in Sonipat, people in Delhi want to be in Delhi, people in Gurgaon want to be in Gurgaon. And there is, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever we consider, depending on which side you are, UGC has a provision of transfer after first year. So students who are, a student from, let's say, Delhi, if he's studying in Delhi this year, next year he can go to Bangalore if he wants to go to any university, because the credit can be transferred, right? So I think people don't want to take a chance. That's the only reason, right? I think it depends on the degree of comfort that the parents have. Obviously the situation, we cannot guarantee that if they go, nothing is going to happen. Or we cannot even say that if they go, something is going to happen. Obviously, universities everywhere worldwide are taking precautions. And everybody has prepared in that way. But chances are always there. This is something that we cannot rule out. But those chances are as good or as bad as when they're in India. So it doesn't mean that if they're in India, in a university in Gurgaon, it's not going to happen. It could happen here also, right? But I think we feel that, or at least parents feel that I have greater control over that. That in the event something happens, I'm there. I can take them to the hospital, I can give them the care. But if it is in an international destination, my choices are very, very limited. That's the only reason. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter where the student is. His chances of getting infected are more or less the same if he doesn't take it. It's not that it was happening in India, but it's not, it's everywhere it's happening, right?
Oh, true.
In India, it's happening in US, it's happening in UK, it's happening in Australia, everywhere it's there.
Yes.
So that's a neutral factor.
I think, Mr. Suman, you want to add something because you represent one of the leading university of Australia, James Cook, and now you head the campus at Singapore. Yeah. So I think you have, kind of dealing with this kind of students regularly, asking about what they have to do. So what is your view on this?
Thanks, Maran. So this is more towards, we had issues with continuing students who are stuck in India, Vietnam, Indonesia, many other parts of the world. Not only we do deal with local Singapore students, at the same time in Australia as well. So the borders were being closed over a period of time. And new students were asked to come and join on February 2021. And for us, we have started face-to-face learning. However, what we are trying to do in the sense, we are delivering subjects on online, but however, our importance in simulating that into practical mode does not cover the spaces in. So to some extent, what we are advising continuing students to not to disadvantage them, to hop into our online studies. And whenever things are ease in Singapore for Indian students, and certainly they will jump in and they will bridge the connection, they will patch it up. But for new students in a particular manner, we have selective subjects where there is a more online component on knowledge-based delivery that is being shared. So that's what we are doing rather than blended mode, which is a skill-based learning, because we are quite equipped with collaborative learning pedagogy and stuff like that. That's where we are very popular in this region as well as in Indian Peninsula. And now, yeah, that is kind of taking a toll, but however, we are having more faith towards medicines invented in a period of time, next 3 months to 6 months. At the same time, we have preparedness for this whole year to deliver subjects in knowledge-based transformational learning to everyone. That is for new students.
Excellent. There is a specific question by one of the vice chancellor from leading University of Bangalore. He's asking, what is your plans, the James Cook University for India? How you
So,
want to collaborate with the educational universities in India?
uh, this is about a two-line answer. Well, we came closer to Singapore and we have opened a campus in Singapore. Our main purpose for facilitating a blended mode for the Southeast Asian region. Now, again, pandemic has came in. So we are looking forward in collaborating a reasonably good branded university who have the similar vision to our own university, because our university vision is the same in nurturing as well as supporting learning pedagogy for the students who are seeking that. So on that particular manner, yes, we are looking at that particular proportionate in a slower manner to support each other as an university and to facilitate studies in that particular region, even if the students are not able to mobilize as previously, we are looking at to support them. And that is something which is, yeah, happening at this stage.
Right. So one of the student is asking about, is it possible to move joining initially at Singapore and moving to Australia?
Yes, as always, this facility is as a one university. We have four campuses at this moment. So one is in Singapore, 3 campuses in Australia, Townsville, main campus, and Cairns, as well as Brisbane. So we have 4 campuses. So whichever student enrolls, they enroll in James Cook University, but the subjects, they can do it in Singapore campus or Australian campuses, up to the student choice. It is different experience that they will accumulate while they are coming and preparedness for a workforce. So that's always a value proportion, one of a value proportion for our university, for the student. And certainly, yeah, that could be one of our.
So this student want to settle down in Australia. So
Okay.
whether after completion of his program, any kind of eligibility to take up work there?
Definitely, there are a lot of opportunities emerged in this situation. Certainly, I don't want to hop into the same pandemic, but a lot of regional individualization of employment created in every other place. So there are a reducing dependency. For example, Karnataka is reducing dependency on Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu is reducing dependency on Mumbai, or Mumbai is reducing dependency on Delhi because of this pandemic. Same thing happened in Australia. Same thing happened in all over the world. So in this nature, yeah, new jobs are being created, certainly, yes, in that particular specific region. So if there is an viability, why not? So student could take this as an opportunity to migrate. So, but again, it needs to be within the law.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. I think, Sharmilaji, you want to ask anything?
My two-bit contribution, sir. I have been dealing with disruption for 50 years now.
Oh, beautiful.
So this 5-month disruption haven't given me any uh, province. I am based in Gujarat, in Baroda, and I left my career at the peak of my uh, in 2015. I was a vice president at SR, and I left because my parents needed me here in Baroda. They are aging, they were unwell, so I left my career and I came back. That's how I started with an entrepreneurial journey. But since my illness, I have been dealing with disruption in social life, in uh, in my career, in my academics. I've had to adapt to a lot of things. Although I think people have to adapt to me rather than my adapting to people. It has become that way now. But yes, people understand me better because I have these issues. I have been handling them for the past 50 years. So illnesses come and go. It should not be a big issue at your at every step in your life. I feel that way and I deal with it that way. Even with COVID-19, yes, I do take care. I am masked. I have a cap on my head when I go out. Mostly, yes, we are safe. But anything can happen, as Professor Kamlesh had said. You can catch an infection anywhere. It's not going to be only in one place.
Correct.
So that's how I see it. When it comes, I will deal with it. I'll adapt to that situation. And that is how one has to deal with any situation in life.
It is very inspiring, Sharmila. So to hear from you in particular. So yeah, for everyone are mostly pushed from this situation, and adaptability became norm in this era, and it will continue. It will continue to do so. Nobody has an expectation early, even the timing or the months, even for everyone else. We have prediction, we have a goodwill. Things will change over a period of next 3 months or 6 months or a year time if the medicines comes out. So that's only faith. Most of the people have it, but otherwise, I mean, yes, you're well said. It is encouraging for me to hear. Yeah, it's indeed. Please, Professor Kamlesh, if you wanted to add anything, please feel free to add.
I think at this point, all I can say is that based on my experience of setting up universities, this is my third one that I'm doing as a vice chancellor. I think there's lot that can be done and there needs to be done, both in terms of how we educate our students. And I think a big transformation will happen there. One of the areas that we have been very seriously looking is to actually question the whole conventional wisdom itself of how do we do things. And we are coming up with a new model of learning. which we say is based on the principle of what we call 20, 30, 50 principle, where only 20% of the learning will come through the senses of hearing, which is basically the lecture format. And 30% comes through the use of the senses of seeing things. And 50% comes from the use of the senses of doing things. And what is driving us into this kind of a system is that we believe that when all senses of human body are used in the learning process, then the learning is maximum and it does not need to be based on memory. It is very similar to driving a car, that when something comes in front of the car, you should not have to think that you need to apply the brakes. It's an impulsive reaction to a dangerous situation because the mind has been trained that way. And same thing happens in the case of learning, that when your all senses are used, then decision making is the best because it's a coordinated decision. And that's where we are trying to break this whole system into how much of lectures, how much of actually seeing, and seeing also means you can use videos, you can use industrial visits, anything that where the dominant role in learning is the sight itself. And then the remaining 50% has to be based on what students actually do. Now, how do we integrate all these things in a digital space is a new problem. How do you incorporate the, see, you can do the first two. The problem is going to be in the remaining 50%, which is based on doing things. But I think it's possible. I think digital technology is getting so advanced that probably we will be sooner or later very close to being able to do that. So I think we should all make efforts and make things happen. I'm looking at it as an opportunity now rather than a problem. Whatever happened is happened. We can't, since we don't have any control, let's see what is the best opportunity that we can have in creating a good system, a new system. And obviously people like Hari who are working in the digital space for such a long time and who have been doing such a great job, probably these are the kind of people who will help us in moving forward and doing things in a better way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Us.
I think now I think it was wonderful to have both of you, and with a very short notice, you people joined, and it was a wonderful session. I think Garima, I think now officially we will close this session. Then after that we will go offline to discuss the other things. Yes, over to Garima.
Thank you so much. I got disconnected, but I missed few questions in the middle. But I'm sure everybody loved it, and I particularly loved it. And all the points were very relevant and very insightful. So thank you so much, Professor Kamlesh, and thank you, Mr. Suman, for such a valuable, insightful session and great inputs. And would be a pleasure.
Thank you very much for being such a nice host. I think the host makes the best, most difference. We come later on, so thank you, did a great job.
My pleasure to hear such a great session. So we look forward for more interaction in future, and we'll connect.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, and Sharmila, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful job.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Dr. Hari Krishna. Thank you, Sharmila. So we will take this offline now.
Yeah. So it's offline. So Simran, request you to stop the recording. So